Okay. Carly, first of all, tell our family engagement savvy audience a little bit about consolidation of funding, its history, and how it came to be in Georgia.
Well, thanks, Susan. While the ability to consolidate funds has really been an option for a number of years, the Consolidation of Funds Initiative, where LEAs consolidate both federal and state and local funds, really took off in 2016. And so in 2020, we are 5 cohorts strong, and we're working with the LEAs who are interested in joining our 6th cohort. USAID knew that some schools were receiving a number of kind of disparate funding sources. And so some of the requirements for those different funding sources overlapped. And they applied to the same students and the same families. And so can a student be an English learner and have disabilities? Yeah. Could a teacher teach children in poverty, but maybe the children also are migrant? Absolutely. Could STEAM programming and technology integration improve academic achievement for multiple groups of students? It can. So why are we treating each program like it's a silo? It really doesn't make a lot of sense. So what makes sense is to let schools develop a comprehensive plan that supports all students and to have a budget that supports every facet of that plan. So it makes sense to empower schools to have control over how much they spend on the different types of support that are available.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's just logical. It makes good sense. So that's great. Which programs funding can be consolidated now?
Well, we have quite a few these days. We started small. And most of the things that we added over the years were at our cohorts request. So to start, Title I Part A is required for all cohorts. You have to include that. And as part of this initiative, every LEA who's involved also has to put in state and local funds as well. But then the nice part comes in and districts really get to customize, and they can customize not just by district, but they can customize by school. And so they can include programs like Migrant and Title II, Title III for English learners, or even Title III for immigrant funds. We've got 4A, we've got IDEA, we have school improvement. And this, in the past 2 years, we brought on 21st Century, we brought on L4GA, and one of the reasons we're on today, we have Title I Parent and Family Engagement. So, yeah, so not only did the law really highlight the importance of parent and family engagement from the very beginning, right, under Title I Part A, and reiterate that in a lot of these other title programs that have popped up. But in later regulations around consolidation, and even later in flexibility waivers that we've had over the years at different times when the country needed the opportunity to have flex waivers, Ed really stood by families. They made these requirements something that can't be waived. So it took Georgia a couple of years to add parent-family engagement to consolidation of funds. We take parent engagement really seriously. And so we took every precaution, reaching out to Ed and legal counsel to make sure that we were able to provide the best technical assistance, safeguard all the requirements that support families, but also to be able to offer that flexibility to principals and school leaders who need to support families in a way that makes the most sense for their schools and their students and their families.
Well, no, we appreciate it, and I'm sure the families in Georgia do as well as the schools do too.
Well, and you may want to remind the audience a little bit about the source of family engagement funding.
Yes, thank you so much. As you know, we're not like a separate pot of money. We're actually part of Title I Part A, and it's called the Family Engagement Set Aside. So any LEAs that receive more than $500,000 are required by ESSA to set aside 1% of the total amount of that, and then to distribute that to the schools. They're required to distribute at least 90%, and then the schools have that money to do with it what they will, to engage their families and to meet all the requirements for parent and family engagement. So that's the money we're talking about today. So Carly, if a school does decide to consolidate its family engagement funds, what are some of the steps they need to take to pursue this?
Well, we know that school-wide planning is an ongoing process. And gosh, this year of all years, we know that that process can change rapidly. But consolidation takes some advanced planning. So any schools that are interested in consolidation have to be in districts that currently commit to consolidation in the initiative. They have to let our office know in late spring that they're going to participate in the upcoming year. So that means this year in March or April, any schools and districts who are interested would let us know that they plan to consolidate funds in the 21-22 school year.
Good. So very timely that you're on here with us today. Thank you.
So Susan, what kinds of things can schools spend their family engagement funds on according to ESSA, and what's required at the school level?
Thanks for asking, Carly. Section 1116 of Title I, Part A has very specific requirements for parent and family engagement. In essence, the law says that any LEAs that receive federal funding or Title I funds will have to provide and conduct outreach to their parents and family members of participating students. And that includes developing programs, initiatives, activities to meet the needs of their families in terms of how families understand how they can support their child's learning at home. This is all to be done in meaningful consultation with parents because we want them on board too in terms of what they feel they need to help support their students, and then what the school does. It's all about building partnerships and connections between schools and families.
That makes sense. Well, we know that that's important. Sometimes schools feel a little saturated with requirements. So one of the questions we get asked is, when a school consolidates its family engagement funding, do they get a break from any of the requirements that you just talked about?
Well, there's a lot of things that ESSA requires in terms of family engagement, things like building the capacity of parents, holding meetings, providing materials and resources to families. And while consolidation of funding is extremely beneficial, those things are still beneficial to our families as well. So we would not want to, waive those requirements. And if a school is consolidating, they would certainly want to and are required to continue all of the things that are part of what they have to do for their families anyway. There's a tremendous benefit in engaging our families and building partnerships with them. So those things would certainly want to be continued.
And that's a really good point. I want to go ahead and say too, what we found under consolidation is that what consolidation does is not remove the requirements, but it makes implementing those requirements so much easier. So maybe you only had $200 for an engagement activity, but now you can pull from consolidation, and because we don't track dollar for dollar, maybe there's more available for family engagement. Now, instead of having 10 different activities in order just to check a box, you could have 8 high quality, or you could have more high quality. And so it really gives you the flexibility to meet those individual needs. And that's where the flexibility lies.
Thanks, Carly. And I know we're hearing a lot of good, positive information from the schools that have consolidated their family engagement funds. And we certainly want to share some of those ideas and suggestions and some of the benefits that have been found or discovered after doing this. I actually understand that you recently had a webinar where you got to feature and showcase some of the principals who consolidated their funding at schools, and it was phenomenal. I had an opportunity to listen to it. And one particular principal, Dr. Peter Coombs from Calhoun City Schools, caught my attention because he was talking about family engagement and use of their funds. So I thought what I would do is just capture that and share that with our audience today, since our family engagement folks could hear it as well.
I'm the principal of Calhoun High School, and we've been consolidating for quite some time now. And a successful school begins with a successful staff, as we all know. And it's important to make sure your school's staff would be appropriate staff. So we work hard to make sure we use our consolidated funds to support our school improvement plan, of course. And a part of that is meeting the needs of all of our students. We recognize for our data, just like Corey shared, where they needed an academic coach. We're a middle and high school campus on one site here, and we needed a literacy coach specifically to address our writing and literacy concerns we have for our student performance. So we're able to combine efforts and split that cost essentially with our consolidated funding and fund a literacy lead teacher and coach that's made a world of difference this year on our campus, and we hope to do the same with a math literacy or a math lead with this upcoming school year using consolidated funding too. In addition to that, we have a growing amount of diversity within our student population, which is wonderful, but it also brings some challenges that we have to face. And language barriers and economic barriers are one of those pieces. So we've used consolidated funds to hire a family engagement coordinator at each of our schools to make sure that they can focus on meeting the needs of our families with wraparound services. And then also STEM has been a growing field for us. So we've used consolidated funding to fund STEM programs at each of our schools and to support the growth of that area as we prepare kids for college and career. So essentially, through our staffing, it allows us to prioritize our needs between staffing and resources. Sometimes you have to make choices, and now the choice often is that we get to have both. We get to have the resources in the hands of the staff, but we get to staff our schools the way we need to, and we get to adjust on an annual basis, and we're not begging for staff. Essentially, we're finding ways, we're taking control at the school level to say, this is what we need, and these are the funds we can use to do it, which is fantastic. So essentially, it's giving the schools some autonomy and decision-making in partnership with, we have school governance teams in our district as a charter, and we work heavily with them to make sure that they support the staffing needs of our school and that they agree with our decision-making process. So we're very blessed with consolidated funding and how it allows us to best staff our schools.
I really appreciated how he tied everything back in, and everything was, you look at the school as a whole. And as you were talking about earlier, our kids and our families are not just migrant families. They're not just family engagement families. They're not just, families with students with disabilities. They're all the same families. And you have to look at the big picture to understand what those needs are, and consolidating your fund, just that makes that so much more beneficial. And I would think easier. I'm sure there's some beginning legwork and all of that, but I think the benefits are going to far outweigh any initial hurdles that maybe have to be addressed or anything.
Absolutely. Kids and kids are dynamic, families are dynamic. They're not just math and literacy. And so consolidation really helps support all the wraparound that's needed to make sure that children are completely successful. And that includes a clear focus.
Carly, that was so exciting. Thank you so much. I appreciate, being able to share the information and for you to come on and talk about consolidation of funds. I know there are a lot of other schools out there too, and we're going to talk about some of those in just a few minutes as well. Some of the benefits that they've shared that that consolidating their family engagement funds have done for their schools, as well as how they've been able to create some new and innovative programs. So let's get into that and see what everybody's been doing. Wow, Carly, that was fascinating. I just can't believe everything that folks are doing. I'm sure there are going to be many other schools. You're going to be staying very busy this year and helping folks understand not just how to consolidate all of their federal funds, but to include their family engagement funds in that as well, because it's always important. Our families are also our stakeholders. They're our customers. So it's always important to think about them and ways in which the schools can conduct that outreach that ESSA requires that we do, but that we also know is extremely important in terms of helping students achieve and be successful in school if they've got the backing and the support of their families, and if their families are connected to the schools. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great Fed Talks.
Thanks so much. Enjoy collaborating.
Good deal. Any closing words?
No, I really hope that we can highlight the work that everybody's doing in Georgia, and that we can have that many more people come on and have the same energy that the folks who are already involved have.
Absolutely. And they are energetic. Thank you so very much.